Alright, today we're going to work with materials and applying materials to objects, as well as playing with our splines a little bit more, and specifically using a lathe modifier. So the first thing we're going to do is create a plane. So bring that into your scene, make it even, just out of habit, 100 by 100. We're going to go 10 and 10 segments. We're going to remove the grid, press F4 to apply my segments, not apply, but see my segments. And then if you want to really get technical and make this centered on your scene, you can change all these grid points to 0. And now this is perfectly centered in our scene. No, but not a big deal, but for those of us that like to be exact, that's one way to do it. Alright, next thing we're going to do is create a teapot. I don't have to have auto grid on because everything's on the baseline right now. So if my grid is 100 by 100, and we're going to say inches, then I'm going to make this teapot about 12 inches tall, about a foot tall. So that's a reference point for me. Okay, I'm going to go into my front view, and we're going to I'm going to rename my plane first to tabletop. Just get in the habit of your naming your objects. Teapot can stay teapot. It's fine. I'm going to maximize my front view here, pressing Alt W is a shortcut. I'm going to go to the create panel, shapes, splines. I'm going to go ahead and click line. Now the first thing you should know about lines, and you should have done this already this week, is when you click and create your lines or objects, everything's straight lines. Okay, we don't want that in this instance. What we want is smooth. So we're going to change this drag type to smooth. And as you can see, we can start making a better shape. Oh, getting ahead of myself here. Now, one difference between I'm going a little faster. One difference between, and one you should pay attention to, between a smooth and a Bezier drag type. The smooth drag type has vertices that I can click and move around. But that's about it. I can't do much more. If I grab a segment, I can move the segment around. I can also take and rotate this segment. Okay. The Bezier gives us a little bit more leeway. If I grab a vertice, I can now move the vertice around, and I can also grab these handles and rotate where the vertice touches, where the vertice goes in and out with the other vertices, where they connect, and I have a lot more control. Sometimes it's a little bit overkill, but in our situation that's what we're going to want to use. So I'm going to delete these two because they're not serving the purpose I need, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new line. I'm going to go with Bezier, and we're going to create a wine glass. So you're going to create a profile of a glass. It could be any glass you want. And as I move on here, I will get better looking. I guess that's a wine glass joke. And with this object here, I'm going to change this from line 01 to wine glass. And all I want is just a rough sketch of a wine glass, and it may not look like a wine glass to you yet, but it hopefully will. Make it a little thinner, and bring this in much more. Bring this down. In fact, I'm not happy with this one at all right now. If you want more vertices on your object, you want to make it more malleable, you can click on this refine button, and you can basically click and create new vertices. Those vertices will have the same function as the rest of my scene, rest of my object. What I'm doing is just creating a little bit better wine glass shape. Now again, this may not look like much right now, but it is something. It doesn't look like a very good one. Bezier may be too complicated for this. I'm going to go to smooth. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, let's try it again. It's a little bit more of what I want. And again, although it may not look like it, you will see what I'm doing in a second. We'll see what they both look like. One of them's going to look good. I'll use one of them. Okay, so we have an outline of a wine glass. Doesn't look like it right now, but it will. I can take that object and I can go ahead and apply a modifier, and that modifier is going to be called a lathe. And just like a lathe machine with wood, it's going to lathe out a 360 profile of that spline. We don't want this one. So go to Align and click Max. That's almost always what you're going to want. We're going to do the same thing on this wine glass. Lathe, Max, there we go. We're going to get out of this view. We're going to go to our perspective view. You can see I have two poorly shaped wine glasses. We're going to fix these here. What we're going to do is just looks a little better. More like Sunday. Actually, we're going to go. Yeah, these are Sunday glass cones. We're going to go ahead and just fix these up a little bit more. These three, I had to bring this Bezier one. And what you're going to want to do is play around with this as much as possible and create as many objects as you can in 3D. It's pretty fun. This will give me a little. That's much better. Lathe. Yeah, that works. Same thing with this one. I'll make this just a little bit thinner. There we go. That looks pretty good. Alright, I'm happy with that. Alright, so we have a few objects. Hopefully you can create a few. We're going to press M and bring up my material editor. This is a list of materials on the left side, standard and mental ray materials. If you don't see mental ray here, then you're going to have to go up to rendering, render setup, scroll down to the bottom, and it's going to say assign renderer. Once you click that, you're going to have options to change your renderers. The only one you're going to have to worry about is production. If it doesn't say mental ray, NVIDIA mental ray, or ATI mental ray, whatever you have, if it doesn't say mental ray, you're going to have to go into this choose render and click mental ray, or mine says NVIDIA iRay under it. You may have it selected default scanline renderer, and that's completely okay. Everything will render quicker, but it will not look as good, and you will have fewer options. But for beginner and tutorials and bottom line assignments, scanline renderer is completely okay. So we're going to select the iRay, the mental ray. We're going to keep that. You can also change the output size, which will be your when you render your picture, your scene. It will output to any specific resolution you want. This is basically limitless. It can be as big as you want. Okay, so the two objects we're going to, or the two materials we're going to bring in, a solid glass and wood, hardwood. And mental ray materials are preset. If we go to materials up here, we kind of have to make them our own. This is what I've had to do for 10 years, and they've since added these. So the first one is our solid glass. I'm going to drag this on our cups, and I do that by clicking this little button next to it, making sure there's a red line emitting from it when I click and hold, and I can go ahead and drag these on my objects and my little teapot. And then finally my hardwood, I'm going to drag, come on, there we go, and drag it onto my tabletop. Now you don't see that. What I can do is click this show shaded material in viewport, and now you can see the pattern on the viewport. You can leave it on or off, it doesn't matter. It does change a little bit of the this memory, but it's not a big deal. Okay, so now we've got glass and our wood. We can do a quick rendering, Shift Q. I'm going to pause this until it renders. Okay, and it's finished rendering. It took just a few seconds. You can see we have nice glass cups and teapot on a wooden surface. Now what I'm going to do is leave this open, because then I can eventually just render the cups again and not the wood. It'll save me time. So I'm just going to minimize this. The other minimize I have is my material editor. They kind of stay here. What I'm going to do is go ahead and create some spheres and put them in these cups. First I'm going to put these cups level with the floor. Now that or with the tabletop they are. Put these inside of here, and I'm going to copy a few of them. And I want them all to be unique, so I'm going to make copies of them. I'm using all my perspectives here to make sure they are on their own. Select two here. I'm going to rotate them. And you know what? Doing too much work here. I'm going to click this first. I'm going to call it ice cream scoop. Ice cream scoop. Apply a modifier to it. Which one am I going to go? I'm going to do noise. Drop the scale down to about there. Let's see here. Let's go 10, 10, 10. Actually, let's go 2, 2, 2. No. 2, 2, 2. Turn on fractal. There we go. Just make it look like that. That looks better. Not quite. It's a little better. And you can make these different sizes. You can make them however you want. I just want to put some things in here. Okay, I'm just going to change the color here, just basic colors. That looks good. Okay. Open up my material editor. Bring in a standard color. We'll just make one. We'll just make these. I'll make them a chocolate. There we go. Or actually, we're going to make them 2 chocolate and 2 vanilla. I want a pure white though. And our glass, if you scroll down to this material here, we can change the color of the glass. We're going to change the glass to a bit of a frosted color, so about here. And let's see how that affects it. And we're just going to do Shift Q and redo this. Make a brand new one. Now the ice cream, I could put a little flecks in it for flavoring. as well as obviously changing the size of the ice cream scoops, noise change, maybe apply a melt on one of them, all of which are a little bit just more time consuming, more advanced, making them look a little nicer. This is more proof of concept, just giving you a rough sketch of what you can do with this. So there's my ice cream scoop with some balls of ice cream in it. There are no shadows. I have no lights in the scene. Everything is just a default. If I were to put a light in the scene, I would have shadows, and the glass would allow some light to pass through. So there you go. That makes it a little bit bigger. I have glass that is see-through, that is reflective. I have some chocolate balls inside of one of the glass. You can see a little nice detail at the bottom. Okay. If your glass ends up being solid black, then you have to do one thing. And under lathe, you have to click on flip normals. When you flip normals, it will allow you to fix if you made that error, but don't worry about that unless your glass turns black and is not able to be seen as see-through or anything else. Click on flip normals, and that's it.